right, beautiful souls. I am so excited to dig in today. You guys are in for a real treat. Elizabeth de Moraes, she is absolutely amazing. I can't wait to introduce you guys to her. I mean, I was like, A.L.I, I know her on a soul level. I like just so deeply. But as I was reading through her bio even more deeply, I was like, wow, just like all the things that were coming through. So to share with you a little bit about Elizabeth. So she's an acclaimed speaker, a master communication coach, transformational coach, and former professional international dancer, which I love. I want to get into that. What's really powerful about her is she's amazing at transforming individuals into creating captivating and confident communication skills on stage and on camera and in different leadership roles. So it's really powerful because she supports people and not just C-suite. So she supports these C-suite executives, but all the way to reality TV stars and everything in between. So I just think it's really powerful that she, through her coaching, is allowing people to step into a deeper level of presence, of storytelling, of creating an emotional connection with their audiences. And I cannot wait to just dig into this even more. She's a TEDx speaker, an international best-selling author, and she's the host of the TV show Dare to Unleash with Elizabeth de Moraes. So on top of all this, she's also a mother. So she's just living proof that you can have it all. So Elizabeth, thank you so much for being here. I truly cannot wait to dig in with you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm excited to play today and dig in as well. It's such a pleasure and an honor to be here with you and with your audience. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Of course. Of course. I can't wait to dig in. So,
and let me say, the moment I met you, I was like, oh, she's a soul sister. She's a soul sister.
I felt that with you too. Yeah. Yes. And then we found out both live close to each other. And I was like, okay, universe, I see you, amazing, which is so much fun. So thank you. Yeah, I absolutely felt that with you right off the bat. And I would love, by the way, to just travel back in time for a minute. So before you were many of these things that I just listed, let's talk about this near-death experience that you had, because I think this felt like a divine reawakening, right? Take us back to that moment. You were hit by an 18-wheeler on the highway. You did multiple 360s across 3 lanes, and somehow you left that situation with just a scrape on your thigh. Would you consider that a divine reawakening? And if so, how has that moment transformed your life?
Completely. It was totally divine. And as you're walking through that experience again and how it is a divine or was a divine intervention, I would say, I can feel it in my body again, in terms of the positive side, not the actual trauma of it, but yes, it was so divine. Because I remember, and just a little bit of background, I had this cute little yellow sports car, and I got it in the color of yellow so that people would see me on these types of highways.
Yeah.
This truck driver did not see me. She was changing lanes and clipped me from behind. So I rotated 360 and then looked up, and I'm going sideways. The 18-wheeler is coming at me, and it hits me and it drags me forward. And then I broke away, did another 360. Now it's dragging me backwards. I'm looking at the traffic that's going with us, but I'm going backwards. I broke away, went across 3 lanes. And the entire time, the reason why I want to outline the experience again is that the entire time, it felt like it was in slow motion. And I felt as if there were angels or something. I know God was there because it was so quiet. Yeah. And I was so present. And I knew that I was being lifted up and around all the way over to the edge to stop. I didn't get, other than, of course, the 18-wheeler hitting me, all the other cars that were coming at me, not one hit me. And I was so present to God and realizing I'm so glad my girls are not with me, because I knew that would probably put some type of trauma in them during that time. And like you said, I walked away literally with just a scratch on my thigh, because when that 18-wheeler hit me from the side, all the glass fell in. And that's all that I walked away with. And it was this reawakening of, that could have been your last day. Those could have been your last moments. You have so much more inside of you, so many gifts, Elizabeth, that you are not utilizing, or that you have utilized in the past, but have now snuffed out. It's time to really step back into those things and into the new thing and do exactly what your soul is calling you to do. And it's been a process. It wasn't instant. It wasn't right when that happened the next day. Oh my gosh, now I'm me. I am the legendary, iconic Elizabeth, and I'm going to go and do all these things. It was a process of healing and realizing certain things about myself and my self-limiting beliefs and learning. I would say the biggest transformation is learning how to have faith and to trust and to really know at a soul level that I am worthy. That's a newer thing, the worthy part. And in that, I've realized that if my soul is part of God or of God, how can it not be worthy? Even though my ego wants to tell me that there are so many elements in my life or of who I am is broken. And that's not true. It's my body's having this physical experience in life, but my soul is what is really driving my whole experience. And that soul is completely worthy. And it's been such an amazing realization, and my whole being just has relaxed, because so much of my time in my life has been about perfectionism and not enoughness and always working really hard. I'm an overachiever. So many of us in this world, I'm sure in your audience, are overachievers. And for me, it was because I felt like I had to prove that I wasn't, even though I felt broken, I'm not broken. Achieve all these different things. And in the process of getting there and then doing it, and then after whatever the thing that I was working towards, I accomplished instantly, was still not enough. I'm not. And I realized that has been my driving force, rather than, oh, you've got these gifts that are meant to be given and to release into the world. So part of my motto is receive, redeem, and release. And the release is not just, well, let me start from the beginning. The receive is the receiving of, it's okay to receive from outside sources or from God. It's also okay to receive monetary, energetic compensation, to receive so that I can then be redeemed and to be whole, to then also then release, and not only release to let go, but to release my gifts. Yes. And this, it's like I said, it's been a process. It's taken years, but it's really that moment in that little yellow car on 635. Sorry, no, it was 35. I-35 here in Dallas during rush hour, where a huge 18-wheeler hit me, and been a journey.
Absolutely. I mean, this is just, you're speaking into so much, those moments that wake us up to, oh my gosh, I have so many gifts and I'm meant to give them back away. Like, we were given these gifts to give them away, but to be compensated for them in a really beautiful way too, so that we can divinely compensate other people for their gifts. I think that's what's so powerful about it, is like, when I am divinely compensated for the gifts that I came here to give, the things that feel so nourishing and exciting and expansive to give, I can then pay someone else what they're worthy of receiving too. And so I think it's really powerful what you're speaking into, is like, it woke you up to, wow, I've got gifts in me that are not ready to go. I'm here to give them back. I'm here to give them back. And so I'm just so grateful that you've stepped into your superpowers, that you've really allowed yourself to be seen and witnessed in the beauty of what is so uniquely you. And that through this process, it's deepened your relationship with God, deepened your relationship with yourself, knowing that you are worthy on a cellular level. And so was there anything else that you did? So there's this deep connection with God. Were there things that you did, exercises you began to kind of walk yourself through to connect to that deep level of worthiness? Because I know you're a transformational coach, and I guarantee so many of the people that are like, I want to speak on stage, might simultaneously be like, I'm also terrified to speak on stage. So were there certain exercises that had you kind of step into that deeper level of self-worth? You kind of spoke into one just now, the 3 steps that allow you to really connect to that. Was there anything else? Maybe it's the deeper connection with God, divinely trusting. What else?
I would say there are numerous things. For me personally, it's and not to get religious, but it's a spiritual practice, is me going back to my spiritual practice. We were recently invited back to invited back to church because we weren't allowed. That's what it sounded like. we were invited to church by some friends, and I grew up going to the church, and then in the last few years, just have kind of not a bad taste in my mouth about it, but just like I don't like the dogma that so many churches have, and how there's all these different connotations and all, and it just didn't feel in alignment. And when our friends invited us to this church, we started going. It's a non-denominational church, and we just felt this pull towards it. And by going back to that when I say routine, I don't mean an old routine. The routine of Sunday morning, getting up, getting ready to worship, to sing, to move my body, to pray, to learn, has really allowed me to deepen that relationship and to receive that feeling of worthiness. And so I would say that's the spiritual practice that fits me. So I would say for people who are looking for something, don't try to fit into somebody else's mold of what that relationship looks like. Find what works for you, whether that's even watching YouTube and watching daily or weekly sermons, or it's to try out at church, or simply listen to meditation music in your ear while you're walking, or it is to sit and meditate and pray. Whatever that looks like, find that, because it really allows you to, that works for you, because it really allows you to see so much of a bigger picture of your existence and of your experience while we are in these bodies on this earth at this time. It takes you out of the ego. It takes you out of the heaviness. And so I would say that. And then for me, as a former professional dancer, and I will say I haven't shared this with anybody, but this is something that's really in it for a while. This is something that's really pulling me forward at the moment. Is, we said former professional dancer. And I'm thinking, why am I not now a professional dancer? Because dancing, moving my body, helps me really ground myself in who I am. It's my most when I am dancing and performing, it's when I'm most connected to God and to my purpose. And so when I dance, I feel it's like yoga practice. We say yoga practice because we're practicing on the mat what we want to take out into the world. And how we want to be in the world. And dance does that for me. So when I'm dancing, I'm very connected at that point while I'm dancing, but it also completely spills out into the rest of my into the rest of my life, where I know myself so much better. It's where I get to explore and play and see who I am, and say, oh, this is who I am. This is how I want to express myself in the world. And I get to know myself better. And so I invite people to find something that moves your body three-dimensionally, whether it's dance itself. Partner dancing is amazing too, because you have that connection with another human being and that energy exchange. Or it could be Taekwondo, it could be yoga, it could be meditation, anything like that is getting you into your body. And because we so often walk around with our heads disconnected from our body, I often tell people when I'm working with them on their speaking, I tell them, how many times have you either gone out on stage or you see somebody going on stage and the only reason why their body is there in terms of how they're moving is that the body is moving the head out to the center of the stage for the head to start talking. And you need to really be able to drop into the body, get into the somatics of things. And because then from there, you can move and express yourself as your authentic self. Not you trying to be something like me or like someone else or this speaker or that presenter or whatever. It's you moving from that authentic space that is grounded, just like we did right before this interview. I loved how you said, okay, we're going to take a moment. We're going to get grounded. Let's close our eyes. Let's breathe. Let's get into the body, drop down. It's exactly those types of things that are so powerful.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing you say is you can find God in anything, right? In a church, right? In a place that might feel good, in meditation, in dance, in movement, in yourself, right? And I think that's what's so powerful about all of this is to your point, follow your authentic truth, and that evolves as we evolve. So, when we're younger, maybe we go to certain churches and maybe it aligns or it doesn't align. Either way, what I'm hearing you say is follow your intuition, follow what lights you up. You can find God in all of these things. And through that, you find your worth. Through that, you find your divine alignment with what came here to actually create and give into the world. So I just love how this is expressed through you in so many different ways, and the way that you've really painted that picture of God being in all of these different places.
Yeah. And in terms of God being in all these different places, he, she, however you define, is in everything.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yep.
We just have to look. And I want to invite people to also be aware of, sometimes we feel like our gifts or what comes really easily to us is not of value, because it is so easy. But when it feels good and it is easy, that's God's message telling you, that's what you're supposed to go do. Go do it and share it with the world, because it's not easy or joyful for others when they step into it, because it doesn't come so naturally, or it's scary for them. But for you to step forward into that, that's your message. Oh, this feels good. Okay, keep doing more of it. If it's ethically correct, like all the good things.
Fair.
If you're like, oh, this feels so good, don't negate it. I've spent so much of my life, and that's why I say, why am I not saying I'm now a professional dancer? Why not start going back to classes and really exploring that side of things? I've spent so much time negating that because of feelings of guilt or self-sabotage, whatever it is, that, oh, I've got to go make money. I've got my family I need to help take care of, and I have a husband, and all these things I need to focus in on. But really, that's where I feel the most joy, and where I assure you, when I step back into dancing, it's going to explode. My life will explode in a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way.
That's fair. Let's set that intention. Yeah. Setting that intention.
In a great way. And I say that because so many of us are holding back, self-sabotaging and holding back our gifts because of fear or judgment, or that guilt and all that. Oh, well, I don't deserve to feel good, or I don't deserve that. That seems so frivolous. No, that's where God's saying, that's where you're supposed to go.
Yeah. So true. So just so much there, that I am so much like all of this, so in alignment, as well as like the stuff that comes easy. Those are our gifts. We're meant to follow those. I just love that reminder to those that are tuning in, that are like, oh my gosh, maybe I do get to follow that. Right. And so I think that's so powerful. And thinking about, your TEDx talk, where you specifically were talking about transforming self-sabotage into your superpower. So how does one transform their self-sabotage that they're experiencing into their superpower?
Great question. We all self-sabotage in certain ways, and we don't always realize it. We most often don't realize it, actually, because it's just habits that we bring up. And so it could be, let's give an example of overeating. I used to be an overeater. I never purged, but I did overeat. And if you saw my TEDx, that's what I speak a little bit about that. And it was my way to self-sabotage myself as a dancer. And so every time I was going for something big, if it was a big audition or just that next level in my career, or going into another company or country to work in, I would self-sabotage myself by overeating. I mean, I could go out to dinner with friends, come home to my empty apartment and eat an entire box of cereal all by myself, feel terrible, feel disgusting, and also disgusted in myself that I did it again. And it caused me to gain weight, so that I then blamed the weight on why I might not or may not have gone further, rather than really addressing that maybe I don't have the talent to move forward. Even though I probably did have the talent, I didn't have to address that maybe it wasn't. And so I bring that up, is that moment of the self-sabotage is that taking the food or pouring the cereal into the bowl and taking that first bite. That is a very powerful moment where you can make the realization of, I want to accomplish this, or I want to transform, I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to heal. Right in this moment is the moment where I'm self-sabotaging that. So can I just take one millimoment, can you work? To allow that pause to expand and say, I now have this is a beautiful moment of choice. I can choose to take this, or I can step up to this and say, let me just replace this one behavior, this one action with something that's going to be more empowering. Just this one little thing. Maybe it's literally putting it down and going to the bathroom to brush my teeth. Okay, now that I brushed my teeth, I don't want to eat, so I'm going to go to bed. It's the one little thing that when you make that shift, when you come up to that resistance, make the shift and go someplace else, it can over and over and over again add up to a transformed life. And so, and in the talk, I talk about how you have, and I help people bring up their hands, like one hand is your potential. It has all this beautiful energy. And then this other hand you bring up and you put, and it represents the gas pedal of your life. And you put that up against the potential, and if each press into each other, and then you allow it to you allow yourself to release a little bit into that potential. You have this dance that starts coming, and then you push back into it, and you're like, well, let me learn more about this. And then you release, and it pushes you, and it takes you to that next level. It becomes this whole beautiful dance of unfolding. But so many times we bring in that same hand of the gas pedal is the brake pedal. And that's where that resistance comes. And it's that in that moment where you understand or become aware of the resistance, that's your moment of what I just described, where you can say, wait, I'm going to change something here. I'm going to release a little bit. And in that release, the self-sabotage dissipates, and that you allow the potential to take over again. And that's where you then, that superpower emerges.
I love that, because it's meeting yourself with love and kindness in the self-sabotage. It kind of allows me, when I think about it, because I was bulimic for a very long time. And so I very much so resonate with the overeating, but I did purge too. And so to meet myself in that moment, because it was a totally disembodied moment, but what you're inviting people to do is actually come back into your body. Come back into your body for a moment in the self-sabotage and ask yourself a question. Is this moment, how could this play out differently? How could I do one thing differently in this moment that would change everything else? But you don't even have to think about everything else. Sometimes it's just the one thing, because I think that's actually really supportive. It's what's the one tiny shift that can help me pivot, right? And so it's the brushing of the teeth. It's putting down the bowl. Like, what's one tiny shift that can help me in that moment? And for me, that tiny shift was, I'm going to tell my husband that I have an issue. I'm going to tell my coach.
That's not a tiny shift, my friend, though.
Yeah, that's fair. But that's actually a big moment. Yeah, it's a big moment, but it had me stay accountable, because now I had two people that were like, I'm here for you. Like, talk to me. And those so it allowed me to kind of set the context to then say, now my tiny shift is to call that person, or now my tiny shift is to, I know that this person, I want to be accountable to this person. If I can't do it for myself first, let me at least do that for them. Because I think for me at that moment in time, it was hard to be accountable for myself, but knowing, okay, I want to do it for someone else, that really shifted things for me. And it did become my superpower. It did become this catalyst of like, oh my gosh, I was able to actually get to the root of, it wasn't the food, it wasn't the bulimia, it wasn't any of that. It was something so much deeper than that. It was this deep yearning for control. It was the fact that I didn't even like myself at that time. And I had to get to the root of why. And so when I liberated that then allowed me to really step into my superpower. So I absolutely love that analogy and the dance and all of the things that you brought into the space. Really powerful.
I love it. And to your point of, that control and everything, for me, it was that I had this gaping hole that I was trying to fill. Yeah. And that's, I had many, I hate to say many friends, but, living in the dance community, so many had the eating disorders. So I had numerous friends who had bulimia, and don't know exactly why I never did the purging. It might be in me saying I had this big hole, is that if I purged, I would then make that empty again. I don't know. I never really came to an understanding as to why I didn't do both. But they're both, they're both mental. They're are seated in something of the control, the not enoughness, the whole, what have you. And so it's interesting how we respond to how our brain works and, the beliefs that we have about ourselves, what we do to our bodies then. And to your point about the small, those small steps that then become catalysts for us is if we focus in on just the one small little thing, whether it's just the awareness that you mentioned, that you're being accountable to another person, it may not be an action. It might be a thought of, oh, wait, he's in my life. He's here with me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to do what I'm about to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be an action. It can be a thought that stops you from doing the negative. And when we focus on these small things, we don't get overwhelmed by the big. Because and this goes for anything, right? It's whether it's self-sabotage or it's working towards a goal. If we can think of that one little thing that we can do right now to go towards wherever we're wanting to go towards, we're one step closer. Because if we think the big goal, either it's, I want to stop binging and purging, or there's some healing I need to do, but it's so big, it feels so big. Or it's the big goal of getting on Good Morning America or having a TEDx talk or whatever it might be, a goal of income. When we look at the big goal, it just gets so overwhelming and we can so easily shut down. But if we can kind of keep it there and know that it's already in the cards, it's going to happen, what little things can I do along the way now to speed it up? Because if you're like, this is what I want, this is what I'm going to manifest. It's not, what do I need to do? It's, what are the elements that will get me closer to that faster? Because it's already done.
Exactly. I love that. And to your point, not focusing on the, how do I make the 7-8 figure, like that becomes overwhelming. And instead being like, how can I build, what's one step I could take today that would get me closer to really fulfilling my passion and purpose? Mm-hmm. The one thing in my business I could do today, maybe it's following up with these people that the version of me that would want to self-sabotage would be like, I'll do it tomorrow. What if I did that today? Right? What if I actually did that today? So I love that. So powerful. And I know so many people that are tuning in are entrepreneurs. I know so many of them have been on stages or want to be on stages, want to be on camera, and they want to convey their message in a way that's captivating and a way that really allows them to feel more confident in their body, like embodied confidence. So I'm curious, just to switch gears a little bit, what advice would you give to someone who's wanting to be more captivating, more confident on stage as well?
That's a great question and a big question. Right. You're like, my whole coaching. Right. So there are a lot.
I let it down to 3 words. No, I'm just kidding.
Like, when is your life's work in 1 minute?
Yeah. I love it. Amazing.
Unlimitedness.
Yeah. Or maybe it's just that, like, that breadcrumb, right?
Yes, definitely. Yes, definitely. Yeah. Well, we mentioned it earlier about finding something that makes you get into your body. So whatever that is, whether it's dancing or taekwondo, what have you, meditation, do whatever that, where you do that, how do I say this? do what will make you feel like your most authentic self and that lights you up. It's fun. Okay. Because if you can bring that energy, whether bring it on or flip it on, because you remember that energy before you go out on camera, before you go out on stage, that will authentically ooze out of you without you even trying.
Yes.
Right? So that's one thing, is to get to a place where you know the right energy that you need to bring, that is you, that you can flip it on. And there's a process to get to that. But my simple thing to tell you in terms of to get there is to move your body in a way that you love moving your body, and then get connected. That's one thing. Another thing that will help you with your mindset, that will help you find the qualities that are in you and that you either already exude or that you realize you need to work on, that are naturally yours, but maybe you've held them in, is an exercise that I do in workshops and with my clients, and that's called the adoration process. And what that is, have you heard of that? Right?
Oh, please.
Yeah. I love this because it just opens your mind up so much to, I am all these different. So I'm going to give you, in a sense, I'm going to tell you a joke and tell you the punchline before you've experienced the joke, just so that people can go through the exercise themselves with the awareness of what the end result is, but pretend you don't know it while you're doing it.
Yeah.
That's okay. So what you do is you take a piece of paper in your journal, and at the top, you're going to write 3 different names of people that you highly respect, that you really adore, that you either you know them personally and you love being around them, or they're people that inspire you and that you aspire to be. So it could be someone in your industry, it could be a speaker, it could be someone in the media, in movies, whatever it is, business, whoever that is, write those 3 names down. So, and it could be one of each. It could be somebody you know, someone that you is in your industry, and someone that never met, but you really respect and admire. And so under each one, how would I say this? I want to challenge you to write out at least 20 descriptive words under each one. Some people say, I can only get 5. Challenge yourself. Time yourself for 10 minutes, write them down, walk away, then come back and do more. But at least do 20 for each. Now, this is the punchline. You're now going to cross out all the names and you're going to put your name up at the top. Mm-hmm. As all of those qualities that you've described are inside of you. Yeah. And they are easily accessible inside of you. They just may be a little dormant at the moment. Because the thing is that you would not see those qualities. You would not see them as important qualities if they weren't inside of you. Because you and I both could look at the same person, probably have some similar words, but not all the same. Right. And it's what you see. And it's because what you see, it means it's inside of you. And so then I want you to start looking at those words. So then it would be at least 60 words. And it really embrace and receive that all those words describe who you are as a bad, pretty, amazing human being.
Yeah.
And embrace those. And now start to look at how those elements can really manifest themselves in your interactions with other people, in how you're writing, how you're showing up when you're doing your reels, or if you're in an interview like this, or on stage, in the boardroom, wherever it is. How can you really start expressing those qualities through the way you speak, the way you move, the way your body language is, how you pause, how you change your vocal intonation and your speed, and play with all those. And you will naturally start becoming that expansive speaker who's speaking from their heart, from their soul, but also is aware of how to expand that out so that it's very engaging with your audience. You can take your audience on a journey. And of course, that takes practice. And it's what I help my people do. So there's a lot to it, but I feel like getting your body moving in whatever brings you joy, and bring that energy as a very simple exercise. And you can do the adoration process, the other exercise, to really start opening you up, start thinking, what can I bring these elements forward? And then bring it. Because then you are then being your authentic self. And on top of it, for both the movement and for these qualities, is this is it's not about being fake. It's not about being playing a role. What you're doing is that in the movement, your energy is beautiful. In these qualities, it's who you are at your best self. Yeah. So when you get in front of the camera, or you get on stage, and you can access those things and flip it on and know, okay, it's time to, in a sense, perform. You're not performing a role. You are being you at your highest level and highest energetic level to communicate what you need. And so that's a craft of learning how to, it's time to turn on and go. The moment, the first step, you're on. And like I said, I really want to hone in that it's not about performing a role. Because there are times when you have to show up when you've just had devastating news or you don't feel like it. You were sick last week and the energy's still not there in your everyday life. But when you have that moment of being in front of an audience, they deserve your best self. And you learn how to turn it on, where you then are that captivating person. You are engaging. And the moment you get off stage, you can release and relax.
Right.
I give the example of, there was a performance. It was a weekend concert series that I was in a dance company. And I had hurt my back really, really bad. While I was on stage, no one had any clue that I could barely walk. But every time, there was one solo in particular that I would go out on to perform and then go off on stage while someone else was doing something. And then I'd come back on. And we did that probably 3 times. Every single time I was off stage in the wings, I was on the ground in a fetal position, holding it. The moment it was my time. Of course, I did it in a way that was protecting my body. I didn't go out to like injure myself more, but it was, these people are here to have an experience. And I can soul over body do this and then come back and know that I have to switch it on and then come off, and I will have that time to rest and heal. And so I know that's kind of a drastic example, but it gives one a good example of when it's time to show up. You show up in your best self, wherever that is, and then take your own time to collect and to get re-energized again. I know that was like, oh.
No, I love this. This reminds me of, I do an exercise. It's the alter ego exercise, very similar, where you're thinking about someone that exemplifies qualities that you're like thinking, oh, I wish I could. And again, you only witness it because you have it within yourself. You then become that version of them. So an interesting way that I've done this in business, I've done this in motherhood, where I noticed myself, or I was having a hard time shutting off work and getting into mother mode. And so I would actually try on the alter ego of my grandmother, because I'm like, she was magic, right? Like, and she was present and she was with us, and that was just something I'll never forget. And so I was like, when I go from work to being in mom mode, I'm trying on the alter ego of my grandma. What that's happening is I'm just dialing up what's already there. I'm just showing up as my best self in motherhood. And then when I want to go back into work, then I dial up those different qualities that I admire in others as well. So I'm telling you, this is something that transformed my life, even when I was shifting in the roles of my day to day, where I was like, what energy do I want to bring more into this? Because the way I show up as a mother is very different from, not very different, but I'm just, it's a little bit of, there's some nuances there, how I show up when I'm mothering versus how I show up in my business. And so that has been really supportive for me too. And I love the way that you describe that exercise. That's really powerful.
It can. It is very powerful. And one thing, when you mentioned your grandmother, something that memory that came up for me is always, that really works for me. And when anything that I'm doing, whether I do all the things that I described, if nothing else, if everything goes out the window, if I can lead with love,
yeah,
it transforms everything. Because if you lead with love, it's in that energy of love. You can't be anything but authentic.
Yeah.
Anything but connecting with other people. And everything else dissipates. So if in this entire conversation, if you didn't hear anything, if you can at least hear this one thing, lead with love, which means if you're in the energy of love, it means you're loving yourself too.
Yeah.
There's so much acceptance and so much, what can I give?
Yeah.
It transforms everything.
It does. It transforms.
And something about your grandmother made me remember that.
I love that. I actually experienced that today, where I was like, what if I saw this through the lens of love? And it actually shifted the way I thought about the entire experience and the way that I wanted to show up in the experience too. And it was like, wow, all I had to do was put it through that filter, and it completely altered my own experience of it within my body. So I love that. to just show up and really filter things through love above all else. So really,
you show up as your best self authentically, automatically, right?
you do. Yes, 100%. Yeah. So powerful. And so we've touched upon so many different things that I think could really support people with showing up as captivating, confident on stage. Is there anything else that you would add for someone who might have stage fright, or any of your clients that come to you maybe saying like, I'm actually terrified to get on stage? You said drop into your body, show up with these different qualities. Is there anything else you would add, or are you like, no, that's the secret sauce to really, moving through that and releasing it, or maybe dancing with it?
Yeah, there is an element of releasing, and there's some exercises that one can do to release. Like you stand up, and like if your body is getting locked up, especially, or you're afraid when you go out on stage, you're going to be shaking or sweating, what have you. And one exercise is, and in saying this, don't let me forget to talk about judgment. Okay? It's actually the bigger point I want to bring up, but this little exercise I want to make sure I state is that what you can do physically is to, when you're feeling that, before you go on camera, if you're on the side of the stage and you're about to go out, stand up. Of course, one can always do the power poses, the Wonder Woman, the victory pose, all of that. Totally do all those. This other one that I love doing is you stand up, you get on the balls of your feet. So you lift your heels off, like, it's like a ballerina. And then you let your heels drop and all your joints relax as well. And you exhale when you do that. So you inhale up and then you exhale and you let yourself bounce, like the heels drop, but don't lock all your joints. Otherwise, you're going to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
But you're gonna drop the heels and let the knees relax and everything else, and just go.
Yeah.
And visualize yourself covered with concrete or ceramics, something china, and then and drop and bounce again, and all of that shatters to the ground. And you do that a number of times, and what that will do is just to let all that negative energy and all the nervous energy in the nerves, in the cells, just release into the earth. And then breathe. And us sitting, you can't, it's hard to do it, but I invite people, while you're listening to this, do that a couple times for yourself. Just inhale, go up on releve, up onto the balls, and then break and release it. Do that 3 times, and your energy, your body, the energy body of your body totally transforms. So that's one thing to do. Like if you're right on that stage, right place where you're about to go out. In general, though, in terms of that fear of being visible, putting yourself out there, showing your gifts, showing how you're speaking, when it's not going to be perfect. We're never going to be perfect. We're in constant evolution. So you're automatically going to get better the more you do it. But you're always going to be in a place of, I don't know how this is going to be received and all of that. So just know that for everybody, that's there. Even the most amazing speakers out there, like you and I a couple weekends ago, saw Trent Shelton and Jesse Itzler. They are some of the most, and Jamie Kern Lima, they are all some of the most world-renowned speakers. I know, well, I can't say for a fact, but I'm going to say pretty much for a fact that they get nerves too. So wherever we are on our journey, we're always going to have those nerves. But in general, in terms of being fearful, our biggest fear is the fear of being judged. From years ago when we were in the cave person time, caveman, cavewoman time, if we get kicked out of the tribe, we won't survive. So we want to be accepted, we want to be loved, and if we do anything different, there's a potential of getting kicked out, getting ostracized. So from that all of the evolution, we've turned into people that are afraid of, even though we're not in tribes per se. I mean, granted, I guess in social situations we have our friend circles and all. We just have this innate fear of getting kicked out of the tribe or the group. And so we're afraid of being judged by other people, and which stops us then from really putting ourselves out there. And one of my favorite quotes I don't remember his first name. One of my favorite quotes, I think it's Thomas Coolidge. He says, and I'm going to say this a couple times so you can really absorb it. I am not who I am. I am not, oh no, sorry, let me say it again. I am not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am. Again, I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am. So what that is I am judging myself. I'm acting accordingly to what I think you think of me. So I'm performing and molding into something that I think you think of me. And I want to make sure that I am now expanding in that so that I look good. And so we're looking through lenses that don't even exist. And so we need to learn to let that go and know again that we are worthy, that we are who we are. We have gifts to share, and stop morphing yourself into something that is you think is serving the people that are judging you, which is stopping you from really serving who you're supposed to serve because you're not showing up authentically as you need to for them. And so an exercise to do or an awareness to think about is I've done this with clients where I will say, I want you to record yourself and tell me everything that you don't like about yourself on camera. I don't like my teeth. I don't like the way I sound. I don't like my laugh. I look really weird. I look so old. I look like all of those things for them to look at it and then share it with a group and then ask them, do you see any of these things? And if the thing is that in those, there are three elements. Either people will be like, will say, I never noticed any of those things. You need to stop focusing in on them. I did notice them, but they don't bother me. Like, yeah, I saw your crooked teeth, but it doesn't bother me. Or heck yes, all of that is crap. You are just somebody I cannot even look at. The thing is that either they don't notice it, they notice it and they still accept you, or if they don't accept you, well, then they're not your audience. You shouldn't be showing up for them anyway, or you shouldn't be living your life in accordance to make them happy because they'll never be happy. So let them go. So if you can think of those elements of, oh, I don't like this about myself, or I'm scared to show this. Well, one, people are going to think either it's amazing or they see the faults and they don't care because we all have faults, things that aren't at to part of where we want them to be. Or if they notice it and it repels them, so then say, thank you, go on your way because I'm going to put my gifts out. And in doing so, it allows you to not lead with fear and the stage fright.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so powerful. Thinking about one, that exercise is amazing. We could put that into practice right now. And thinking about specifically judgment, something really interesting that I channeled one time was because I was moving through a moment where I was just feeling really judged, and I received the message. It was like, Christina, you're not scared of what they're saying. You're not scared of the person that's saying it. You're scared of the part of you that agrees with them or it wouldn't resonate. And right. You realize, I was like, oh my gosh, there's a part of me that kind of agrees with them. Or else, like if someone's like, Christina, you're morbidly obese, I'd be like, that's neutral. I don't even, what? Right. Yeah, like, okay. But when I had an eating disorder, if someone was like, you're so skinny, I would be like, oh my gosh, I am too skinny. Oh my gosh, they know I have an eating disorder, right?
Right. So they found me out.
Right. That's my energetic connection to it versus someone else's energetic connection to, oh my God, you're so skinny. They might be like, did we just become best friends? Like, thank you. Right. There's different energies attached to different things. And it's all about the way that we're connecting with the energy of what's being said or not even said, what we're making up, like you mentioned, about what we think that they think of us. So right. I think that's where I notice is like when I recognize all that's telling me is my next greatest thing to heal. So the ball is back in my court. I'm no longer outsourcing my power. I'm like, ooh, there's a part of me that agrees with them. That's what I get to heal versus being like, oh, right. I need to control the narrative everywhere. That's not possible.
Mm-hmm. So definitely. And to that point too, it's a great moment or a great opportunity for self-reflection. Yeah. When you do feel judged, because I wasn't talking about actually being judged, except for that third set of people. But when you are judged and it does come flying straight at your face, where you can, it's a great place for self-reflection to say, is that true? Is it my truth? Is it a reflection that, maybe I do need to work on that? And I do see an opportunity for growth here. Or, you know what, this is just a residual of what I've already gone through and grown through and healed through. And this is just a reminder of how much I have done the work. And it's just a little reminder, and it's not actually my truth anymore. Thank you for reflecting that back. And I'm now able to totally release it because it's no longer part of who I am.
So powerful. I love it. That's so powerful. And, you know, one of the things that I just wanted to touch on to you as we're kind of pulling this in full circle, what I really love is this idea to even like switch gears a little bit. We talked about intuition right before we were jumping on here, and how it has actually guided you into places that are in alignment with your soul. Like maybe you're receiving the messages, you're channeling them, you're getting them from your highest self, you're getting them from God, however they're coming through. You are experiencing something now where you're like, oh, I'm going on this last minute trip, but it feels like it's in alignment with my soul. I'd love for you to just talk in or speak into, what does that feel like in your body when you know that something's intuitively aligned, even when other people don't get it, even if there's judgment coming to you, even if all these other things outside of yourself are happening? Thinking about self-reflection, like you just mentioned, what did that feel like in your body when you were like, even though it's last minute, I know that it's in alignment, and all of a sudden the universe made it possible?
Great question. Let me give a little context and tell the story. A couple of weeks ago, I got a message from an organization in Malta. Well, they're a Swiss organization, but they have an event coming up in Malta, and they reached out and said, we'd love for you to participate in this. And it was one of those moments of, oh my gosh, this would be amazing. But then also, how the heck am I going to make anything like this happen? Is this really for me? Is this a jump that I should really do? But oh my gosh, secretly, like, this feels so right. If I were to make this jump, and I'll explain what the jump is in here in a second. If I make this jump, it's a total full circle moment where I get to access things from my past that I should be using in my business and in how I'm living my life. And that it wasn't even in my radar. I was looking in this side of things of how I can do what I'm doing and how I'm living my life. But if I go to this, everything exponentially opens up, and who I am gets to express even bigger and all. And so but then at the same time, it was this right? Should I be doing this? I don't know. So what it is, it's an event, a women's event. They have all their speakers, but they were inviting me to just participate. But then they said, but hey, why don't we know we want you to be a speaker next year. Why don't you come and speak in the panel this year and come and be in the room? And it was one of those things where physically it was can I cuss here?
Oh yeah, go for it.
It was a hell yeah. I mean, not that this is really that much of a
I know. I was like, oh wait, what? Yeah, let's go for the S word.
It was like a hell yeah. I completely. It's not one of those things where you visualize and say, oh, I could see myself there. I'm visualizing it. It was oh no, I belong there. I totally will be at home, sitting in this room with these people, interacting with these people, working with people from all over the world. Because we didn't talk about this, but when I was a kid, I lived in Germany, and I traveled all over the world, got to see so many cultures. My worldview innately is so different. It's one of those things where it's like, well, this is just how it is, right? And so I don't share that because I just think like it's just how everybody is, but it's not. My worldview of how I see cultures and people and how I'm able to navigate through the nuances of culture without pushing myself in it. I don't negate myself in other cultures, but I definitely know how to merge and mold and work through those cultural nuances that were innately built into me as a kid. Well, I think in suburbia, Dallas, I don't access those things. Raising kids here so that they can go to a good school has fortunately for everything, but unfortunately there are elements of myself that, because I've taken myself out of that element, those elements of myself are not accessed. When I got this note of, hey, would love you to be a part of this, it was all of a sudden, it was like like a transformer. That's what it feels like when it's in the right alignment. You're like, yes, hell yes, yes. I mean, I'm going to be interacting with people who work at the UN, who are European parliamentarians. That, like, when they introduced one of the people from I was watching the last conference recording, and when they did their opening statements and were recognizing certain dignitaries in the room, one of them had in their title, Your Excellency. And I'm like, hell yeah. Here to this is where I
Yes.
that feeling of, oh, yes. Yes, there might be some trepidation of, seriously, is this the right move to make? Can I afford to take time out of this and that and move things around and say no to certain things? Yes, but it's not the same type of fear as, well, should I invest that 50,000 in that program? Because that's scary. I don't know how to describe it. I'll just say this. We recently had, and my husband and I were just talking about this. Recently, we're in a coaching program, and then their next level was this $50,000 program. And they broke it up into monthly payments and all. You could figure out how to make it happen. So you could still figure out how to make it happen. But there was still this feeling of, even if we took the fear of, how the heck would we make that happen right now? You still can have that sense of, oh, yes, we can make this. Or this isn't the right time. If you take away the fear of the money, just doesn't feel right now. For both of us, we were both like, okay, let's move. We're not moving from fear. We're not moving from, because it's so easy also to do things like that for fear of missing out. Right? You just do it anyway. And then you're like, why the heck did I do it? So we knew, nope, it just doesn't feel right. It wasn't from the feeling of lack, though. It was a feeling of knowing. And then this one came and it was, oh, heck yes. You could take the time out to do this and make that leap over into that space and see where it goes. I don't know what's going to transpire. Nothing might transpire. But on the other hand, so much could transpire. And my intuition also told me, even though it was more work, and I don't want to say I'm assuming that no one will take me up on it. I don't want to say like, nope, it's not going to happen, because I'm just open. But I'm also kind of realistic that probably no one will take me up on coming over to Malta in a week and a half, short notice, to do a day-long intensive with me, and then go to the event and we guide them through all of that and open up their network to the rest of the world. I said, let me be bold and offer this mini retreat. I'm going over there. Why not leverage this and see if I can bring more people over with me and help them with that, rather than staying small and think, oh, well, no, that's probably just too much work, or I'm fearful. No, my intuition told me, just put it out there and see. And whether it happens now or it happens next year, where I have a longer on-ramp to invite people to take part, awesome. But now it's set. And I'm so in alignment and so excited. And so I think that's a part of the intuition as well, where it's like, you listen, what feels right, that's not you're not doing anything out of fear. And then you get the excitement, even if it's just a little tickle. It doesn't have to be like, I'm so excited. It's just like, let's go. Because when this came up, I will say this, and I had to take this time to really fall into the intuition. I remember sitting up in our balcony almost all day, and I was just in this state of, yeah, yes. Yes, let's, it was, I was almost numb, but also so present, and so many things were going on through my head in terms of possibilities. And there was nothing of, oh, you can't make that happen. That won't work. You know how so many times you can think, oh, I'm excited about this. Oh, but that won't work. Oh, I could do this. No, that won't work. There was none of that. It was, how can I look? This could happen. That could happen. Oh, okay. How could let's go. But I had to give myself that time. Yeah.
Mm. I love that so much of just connecting into, does this feel like taking all of the other things out of the equation, taking the money, taking the time, all the other things. If all of that worked out, is this in alignment? Yes or no? Then it's totally neutral, right? And then it's like, okay, now I'm living in possibility. If it's a yes, of all the ways that it can work out and all the ways that I'm being guided to lean in. Because for you, you were mentioning, oh, this is last minute, but I'm making it work. So very easily it could be someone who gets that excitement when you share ways for them to lean in with you, and they're like, it's last minute, but it could work. I'm excited, right? Of course that's possible. So I just love that you're following the nudges, and it's just living in the possibility and allowing that spaciousness for someone to step in and this be something that's so transformative for them too. So thank you so much for just sharing so much wisdom in the space. I'm guarantee there are just so many people that are wanting to connect with you even more. So one, where are you hanging out? And two, we're going to drop something in the show notes too. The top 7 strategies to enhance your speaking skills overnight. So she could literally be hanging out in your inbox with like these incredible strategies. So, but where else are you hanging out that people can connect with you?
Well, online would be mostly Instagram, Facebook as well. I keep, and this is where my alignment's a little off, because I'm like, oh, LinkedIn, I need to go over there, but it just doesn't feel so inspiring. So you can find me there too, but it's mostly in Instagram. And of course, if we could ever be in each other or in the same room, like hanging out, like that's where I love the most. If we can go to events and we can connect there, awesome. But in terms of finding me, find me on Instagram, or my website is my name, elizabethdemoraes.com. And my show. Talk about that. Dare to Lead, you're going to be a guest on that too. So this is a show that's on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and the like. So you can go.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you
so much. I mean, first, before I even say where you can find me, like I want to honor you and thank you so much. I have so much appreciation and gratitude for what you're doing in the world and for this time that we got to share. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I mean, it was like an instant, like, oh, we need your magic in the space. So thank you for sprinkling your magic, your beauty, your wisdom into the space. I learned so much from you in this short amount of time. So I'm just so grateful for you in every single way. So if you guys are tuning in, if you had a favorite takeaway, please take a screenshot, tag both of us on Instagram. We would love to hear your biggest takeaway. It inspires me to create more content. And I'm positive Elizabeth too, that creates her, or kind of inspires her to make more content too. We love knowing what, resonates with you. So take that screenshot. Let us know. We would love to hear from you. And thank you for tuning in. And until next time, bye.
Bye.